Have you ever wondered why a woman's silence often speaks louder than her words? Why, beneath the soft smile, the polite answer, the well-constructed mask, there lives a current of desire so fierce it can bend the direction of her life, yet she will never say it aloud? This is not the desire of fleeting pleasures, not the shallow hunger for attention or approval. It is the deeper, older desire that lives in the unconscious, a longing written into the archetypal fabric of what it means to be a woman in the Jungian sense. And unless a man has eyes to see beyond the surface, he will never touch it, never understand it, never enter the kingdom hidden behind her gaze. At the level of persona, she may seem to want stability, affection, companionship. But within the shadow, the unspoken territory where her instincts whisper, lies something far more primal. She secretly desires to be mirrored, not in her appearance, but in her essence. She wants to be seen not as decoration, but as destiny. And here lies the paradox. She will never admit it, because to reveal it would strip away the power that keeps it sacred. If she tells you exactly what she needs, it loses the fire. The mystery dies. The secret is not in the confession, it is in the silence that compels you to discover her. Carl Jung spoke of anima and animus, the unconscious feminine within the man, the unconscious masculine within the woman. What she longs for, though rarely articulates, is not simply a man, but the awakening of her animus through him. A man who does not shatter her individuality but provokes it, forcing her to wrestle with herself, to refine her strength, to confront her shadows. She desires a mirror that does not flatter, but challenges. She does not dream of comfort. She dreams of confrontation with her own untapped power, catalyzed by another's presence. This is why the Stoic philosophers, centuries before Jung, warned against confusing desire with indulgence. Seneca knew that the soul desires struggle, not ease. Marcus Aurelius understood that resistance makes the spirit sharp. In the same way, what a woman secretly desires is not endless reassurance, but the kind of presence that forces her to rise. She will never say it, because to confess it openly sounds almost cruel. She longs to be tested, to be refined, to be burned into authenticity, and if you are weak, her silence will crush you, because her silence is the test. Notice how her eyes linger when she meets a man who does not try to tame her with empty praise. The men who yield too quickly to her surface lose her interest almost instantly. Deep down, she desires the polarity of masculine steadiness, a force that neither wavers nor begs, a gravity she cannot manipulate. She will never tell you this truth because her ego may fear it. Her conscious mind wants safety, but her unconscious craves fire. It is the eternal duality, the longing for protection on the surface and the hunger for transformation in the depths. And you, if you are listening closely, you feel this tension. You may have wondered why she pulls away when you give her everything she asks for, why she withdraws into distance after you finally make it safe. It is because what she consciously requested is not what her soul desired. She did not want your compliance. She wanted your essence. She wanted to feel your unshakable center, the strength of someone who does not crumble in the face of her storms. What she truly desires is for you to withstand her chaos without losing yourself. That is the unspoken hunger, the test she will never confess, the reason she is drawn back again and again to the men she cannot break. This secret desire is not born of malice. It is born of archetypal necessity. For the feminine, in its deepest expression, seeks union not with the man's weakness but with his logos, his principle of order, reason, and direction. To touch that is to awaken in herself the hidden capacity for wholeness. And yet, she will never admit it, because the moment she names it, it becomes ordinary. To speak it aloud would flatten the archetype into a mere checklist, and the archetype cannot be tamed. It can only be lived. This is why so many relationships collapse into emptiness. Men give what is asked for, not what is needed. Women suppress what is needed because it feels too vulnerable to reveal. The result is a performance, not a union. The feminine pretends to be satisfied with the surface while secretly starving for the depth. And the masculine wonders why he is never enough, blind to the truth that he has given her gifts she never truly desired. If you dare to ask yourself, what would it mean to stand before a woman not as her servant, not as her rescuer, but as her equal force? What would it mean to face her shadow without fear, to mirror her essence instead of flattering her ego? That is the unspoken invitation. That is what she desires, though she will never say it out loud. Some women will smile while their hearts burn with a hunger no man has ever truly named. They will speak of wanting kindness, loyalty, affection, and yet their eyes betray another language entirely. It is the language of depth, of yearning for something that pierces beyond surface stability. Jung would say that what they seek is not a partner, but an initiator, one who draws out the buried animus in her soul. This is not about dominance nor submission. It is about awakening the polarity that forces her into her fullest expression, and this desire, this most secret desire, she hides even from herself. The paradox is cruel but true. If a man bends to her every wish, she grows restless. If he yields to her complaints, she loses trust. For beneath her words lies a silent prayer. Stand unshaken before me. The storms she brings are not always conscious. Sometimes she lashes out, sometimes she withdraws, sometimes she tests without realizing it. And yet, each of these moments is a deeper question. Can you hold your ground when the tide of my emotions rises? If the answer is no, she cannot feel safe. If the answer is yes, she is drawn to you with a force she cannot explain. Modern psychology might reduce this to attachment wounds, to trauma patterns replaying themselves, to the unconscious longing for a father's stability never received in childhood. And there is truth in that. Many women carry unhealed fragments of abandonment, control, or neglect, and these fragments become disguised as relationship drama. But if you look deeper, you see that it is more than trauma. It is archetypal. It is the feminine seeking to encounter the masculine not as a rescuer, but as a mirror of its own unclaimed strength. She does not merely want comfort. She wants confrontation with her higher self, and only a man with presence can trigger it. This is why men who fold into people-pleasing find themselves discarded. They believe that endless giving will buy love, but they are offering the wrong currency. A woman secretly desires not the man who kneels, but the man who stands. His refusal to collapse before her moods does not mean indifference. It means he has his own axis, his own inner logos, his own sense of destiny. And in that strength, she feels something rare. She feels that her chaos has met its match, that her wildness has encountered a container vast enough to hold it without judgment. Think of how the Stoics described strength. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." A woman's hidden desire echoes this truth. She does not crave the man enslaved by her moods. She craves the man free within himself, who chooses her not out of desperation, but from alignment. She secretly longs for a love that cannot be purchased by manipulation, a presence that cannot be bent by seduction, a steadiness that does not waver under pressure. This is the man she cannot stop thinking about, even when she pretends she doesn't care. And yet, she will never voice this aloud. Why? Because to admit it would strip her of the power of testing. The tests are not games. They are the unconscious language of the feminine shadow. She wants to know, can you handle me when I show the parts of myself I do not even like? Can you witness my rage, my despair, my confusion without dissolving? If you cannot, she will never trust you with her soul. But if you can, she will hand you a loyalty deeper than words, a devotion stronger than desire. Notice how this dynamic plays out across history, myth, and literature. The goddess is never given to the man who flatters her. She yields only to the hero who proves his inner mastery. Psyche does not win Eros by begging. She wins him by enduring impossible trials that refine her essence. The myth reveals what psychology confirms. Desire is not for comfort, but for transformation. And woman, whether she admits it or not, seeks a man whose presence provokes her individuation. But here is the danger. Many men misinterpret this. They mistake cruelty for strength, arrogance for confidence, dominance for mastery. They think she wants to be controlled, when in fact she wants to be met. True strength is not the tyrant's hand, but the philosopher's heart. True steadiness is not cold detachment, but the balance between empathy and sovereignty. The man she secretly desires is not the one who silences her voice, but the one who hears her chaos without being swallowed by it. He does not cage her. He steadies her. He does not command her. He commands himself. And so the paradox deepens. She will never say these words aloud, but she will feel them in her bones. She will test without speaking, watch without confessing, retreat without explanation. To the man who lacks understanding, she appears inconsistent, confusing, impossible. But to the man who sees, she is an oracle, revealing the map of her unconscious in every gesture. She is not asking him to dominate her, she is asking him to withstand her, so that in his strength she can finally rest. Most women will never confess how exhaustion haunts them when they are forced to carry the weight of both roles, the nurturer and the anchor, the flame and the foundation. Outwardly, they demand equality, independence, and control over their lives. But in the hidden chambers of the psyche, there is another longing: to finally set down the burden of holding everything together and encounter a presence that does not crumble when she stops performing. This is not weakness. It is not regression. It is the deep archetypal yearning of the feminine to surrender without fear, not to a man's dominance, but to his steadiness. And this she will never say aloud, because the modern world often punishes women for wanting it. Jung understood that what is repressed becomes shadow. And here lies the modern paradox. The feminine shadow is heavy with unspoken desires. She represses the wish to be protected because it feels shameful in an age of independence. She represses the desire for a strong presence because it feels politically incorrect. She represses the longing to melt into trust because it feels like betrayal to her hard-won self-sufficiency. And yet, repression never kills desire. It only drives it deeper, where it grows hotter, more dangerous, more magnetic. So she becomes torn. A woman who outwardly insists on autonomy, but inwardly aches for connection deep enough to dissolve her defenses. Her lips say, "I need no one." But her body whispers, "Show me I can finally rest in your presence." This tension is the battlefield of modern love. Two selves inside one woman, one proud and armored, the other soft and yearning. And she will never admit this contradiction, because it reveals vulnerability, and vulnerability feels unsafe in a world that has often punished her for showing it. Men who fail to understand this polarity find themselves confused. They hear her words but miss her essence. They take her declarations literally. She says she wants space, so they vanish. She says she wants gentleness, so they bend. But beneath those words lies another request. Do not abandon me. Do not collapse. Do not confuse my defenses for my truth. She secretly desires a man who can read between the lines, who does not take her every surface reaction as final, but sees the archetypal dance beneath it. This is not manipulation. It is the unconscious language of a soul that longs to be met, not just obeyed. And here lies the tragedy. Most men are trained to respond to women transactionally. She asks, he delivers. She complains, he fixes. But the woman's soul does not hunger for a fixer. She hungers for a witness. She craves a presence steady enough that she can unravel without fear of being abandoned. This is why, across myths and philosophies, the masculine principle is portrayed as the mountain, the tree, the pillar. The feminine is the river, the storm, the fire. She does not want to be controlled. She wants to know that when she flows, when she burns, the pillar will remain. Seneca once wrote that fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave. The same principle governs her hidden desire. She tests not because she is cruel, but because she longs to discover the gold within the man. She longs to see if he has substance, if he can withstand the adversity she unconsciously brings forth. For, in his steadiness, she feels the rare safety of not needing to control everything. She feels she can dissolve, for once, into her essence without the world collapsing. If you dare to look closely, you will see it in the smallest moments. The way her tone sharpens, not to wound, but to probe. The way she withdraws, not to abandon, but to see if you will follow without losing your ground. The way she grows restless with men who give too easily, who offer comfort without conviction. Her restlessness is not ingratitude, it is the hunger for fire. She wants to be drawn out of herself, to encounter a love that does not flatter but transforms. This is the woman's secret desire, to surrender, but only to a presence strong enough to deserve it. She wants to be undone, but not by chaos, by a man who has mastered himself so deeply that she can finally put down her armor. She will never say this, because the words would make her feel exposed, even foolish, and yet in every glance, in every withdrawal, in every contradiction, she is speaking it louder than words ever could. If you think this is about domination, you misunderstand. True strength is not the iron fist, it is the unshakable heart. True mastery is not control over another, but mastery over self. And when a man embodies this, when he becomes steady without becoming cold, firm without becoming cruel, present without becoming needy, he touches the deepest secret of her desire. And in that moment, without words, without confession, she feels the one thing she has longed for but never admitted: release. There is a reason why the woman, who appears most self-contained, most untouchable, often hides the deepest hunger for being met in her essence. Jung would say that her outer armor is not her true nature, but the mask she has been forced to wear. Behind the polished independence, behind the carefully curated image of control, there is a soul that longs to exhale, to collapse into a love that does not exploit but liberates. And yet, she will not name this need, because naming it makes it fragile. And fragility is dangerous in a world that has not always been kind to the feminine spirit. The paradox is stark. She rejects the weak man, but she also resists the tyrant. What she secretly desires lies between these extremes: a man neither submissive nor domineering, but sovereign in himself. She seeks not possession, but presence; not control, but constancy. The kind of man who is not intoxicated by her beauty, not enslaved by her moods, but attuned to the rhythm of her soul. She may never admit it aloud, but when she encounters this rare quality, her entire being responds. Her body softens, her guard loosens, her energy shifts, and without words, she reveals the truth she could never confess. And this truth terrifies her, for to admit it would mean surrendering the illusion that she needs nothing and no one. It would mean acknowledging the longing that has always been there, the desire to be met, to be seen, to be held, not as an object of possession, but as a universe to be explored. She fears this desire because to hand it to the wrong man is to risk devastation. Many women have risked, and many have been broken, so she hides it, buries it, locks it away, waiting for the one whose presence calls it forth without demand. It is here that Stoic wisdom collides with Jungian psychology. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." A woman's secret desire is dyed by centuries of unmet longing, by generations of women who surrendered too soon to men unworthy of their trust. Her caution is ancestral, her silence inherited. She does not hide because she is cold. She hides because her blood remembers. And yet, the desire remains. It cannot be erased, only transmuted. This is why she is magnetized to the man who stands rooted in himself. He may not have wealth, he may not have charm, but if he has a presence, she feels it in her bones. His calm does not silence her, it liberates her. His steadiness does not cage her, it frees her to unravel. For what she secretly desires is not a rescuer, but a witness so steady that her storms lose their power to destroy. In that presence, she can finally let go of her endless vigilance. She can finally become woman, not performer, and yet she will never tell you this. Instead, she will circle it in silence. She will test you with contradictions. She will say one thing and mean another, not because she enjoys games, but because her unconscious is speaking a language older than words. She wants to know if you can hold. Paradox, if you can embrace the contradictions without collapsing into confusion or resentment. For life itself is contradiction, and she secretly desires a man who can embrace life as he embraces her, fully, without demand for it to be simpler than it is. Think of her shadow. Jung taught that what we repress becomes the key to our transformation. Her shadow is her longing for surrender, which she represses to appear strong. But if you can meet her without exploiting this shadow, if you can honor it without demanding it, you become the alchemical fire that allows her to integrate it. Suddenly, her independence is no longer a mask. It becomes choice. Her softness is no longer a risk. It becomes power. And you may have felt this in the past without naming it. That inexplicable draw toward a woman who never told you what she wanted, yet left you haunted by her silence. That pull you could not satisfy with gifts or words because it was never about the surface. It was about whether you could become the container for her hidden essence. If you failed, she vanished, and you called her mysterious. If you succeeded, she revealed a devotion deeper than you imagined possible. This is the secret she carries. She does not want to be conquered, but neither does she want to conquer. She wants union, the rare meeting of two sovereigns, neither collapsing into the other, neither demanding surrender, but both yielding willingly to the current that flows when masculine and feminine finally meet in truth. And she will never say this out loud, because words cannot capture it. It is not an idea. It is an experience, a fire that either ignites in presence or dies in absence. And so she waits, silently, carrying within her the desire she will not confess, hoping, fearing, longing that somewhere, someday, a man will appear who does not ask her to explain it, but simply knows. There is a hidden violence in the way she has been taught to deny her own longing. The world has told her that to need is to be weak, that to desire depth is to be foolish, that to reveal hunger is to risk humiliation. So she wears the mask of self-sufficiency, smiles politely, and pretends that the shallow games of modern love are enough to sustain her. But beneath that mask burns a fire that no performance can extinguish. It is the secret desire for union with a presence that does not vanish at the first test of her chaos, a force that neither suffocates her nor abandons her. This desire is not about romance. It is about wholeness. Jung called this the process of individuation, the uniting of the conscious and unconscious, the reconciliation of shadow with self. A woman secretly desires a man who catalyzes this process within her, not by rescuing her, but by embodying a presence that mirrors back the parts of herself she has hidden. He becomes not savior, not jailer, but mirror. His strength reflects her strength. His clarity illuminates her confusion, His steadiness steadies her storms, and in that mirror she glimpses who she might become if she dared to surrender her fear. Yet she will not say this aloud. To confess it would mean risking that it be misunderstood, twisted into a justification for dominance or dependence. She desires neither. She does not want to be possessed, nor does she want to be worshipped. She wants to be met, fiercely, vulnerably, truthfully, and only a man who has faced his own shadows can meet her there, for only he will not run when hers emerge. This is why men who have mastered themselves, even imperfectly, carry a magnetism that cannot be faked. Their calm is not apathy, their confidence not arrogance. It is the fruit of inner battles won in silence. When such a man stands before her, she feels the rare safety of being able to reveal without being destroyed, to soften without being consumed. This is what she secretly longs for, a love where she can stop guarding herself. The Stoics spoke to this need, though they framed it as philosophy rather than romance. Epictetus taught that no man is free until he conquers himself. Freedom is not the absence of chains, but the mastery of the soul. This is the man a woman secretly desires. The man free in himself, not enslaved to impulse, not bound to ego, not addicted to validation. For only such a man can offer presence instead of need, strength instead of control, devotion instead of desperation. And still, she will never speak it. Instead, she disguises it in contradictions. She will say she wants tenderness, then recoil from the man who gives only that. She will claim she wants attention, then grow restless with the man who smothers her. She will insist she needs independence, then ache for the man whose gravity makes her want to surrender. These contradictions confuse men who do not see beneath the surface. But to the one who listens with more than ears, they are not contradictions at all. They are the voice of the feminine unconscious, calling forth the masculine that can contain it. If you observe closely, you will see how her secret desire reveals itself in silence, in the way she lingers longer in the presence of a man unmoved by her tests, in the way her laughter softens when she realizes she cannot manipulate his center, in the way her anger collapses into tears when she discovers he is still there, unshaken. She will never say it, but her soul screams it. Show me I can trust your strength, and I will give you all that I am. The danger is great because so many men misread this. They think it means she wants to be dominated, when what she wants is to be freed. They think she craves obedience, when she craves sovereignty. The man she secretly desires does not break her. He refuses to be broken by her storms. He does not silence her. He hears her fully and still stands tall. He does not cage her. He creates the safety in which she finally lets her wildness roam without shame. And when she finds this, when she meets this presence, something miraculous occurs. The masks fall away. The armor dissolves. The constant vigilance that has exhausted her finally rests. She becomes not smaller, but larger. Not weaker, but more radiant. The woman who secretly desired to surrender to strength without fear becomes the woman who walks in her own wholeness. And the man, if he is wise, realizes that her devotion is not submission. It is the reward for his mastery of self. This is the secret she will never put into words. The desire buried so deeply she may not even admit it to herself. But it is there, pulsing beneath her every contradiction, shaping her every choice, guiding her every attraction. And once it is awakened, nothing else will satisfy. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.